Let's go, man. Let's get it. Let's get it. Shout out to my first timers, you hear me? Let's get it. Let's trap. Shout out to everybody, man. We're going to get busy. Y'all already know, man, trapper attire is required. Right? Trapper attire is required, right? So that means you got to have your pen and your pad. You got to be ready, you know what I'm saying? Because we're going to really put some real game out here. You know what I'm saying? My goal is to educate the culture on how to build wealth one share at a time. You hear me? So, we're going to talk about a few things tonight, man. The first thing I want to ask you is this question, right? What will your legacy be? Right? I want you to sit down and think about that question. What will your legacy be? Right? How many people on here, right? How many people on here have been through some tough times? Right? How many people on here have been through some tough times, been through some hard times? The thing about being through some hard times, some tough times is this: building wealth and investing in the stock market has nothing to do with circumstance and everything to do with mindset and knowledge, right? Building wealth has nothing to do with what you've been through, right? Because what happens is a lot of people blame a lot of the things that go on in their life with what they've been through, right? So for me, I can tell y'all know my story. I've been through a lot, right? So you got to ask yourself this, right? What will my legacy be? Am I the asset or am I the liability, right? Am I the asset or am I the liability to my family name, right? Say that again, right? Will you be the legacy? Will you be a legacy? Are you the asset or the liability to your family name? And so let's tap into that for a second. Let's tap into that for a while, right? You know, we're gonna talk about some stock stuff for sure, but I always like to, get us there. Let me see what you say, Trappin. You talked about some good thing, right? So what happens why I say that is this, dude. The asset to your family name, the asset to your family, leaving the legacy has everything to do with you. One, acquiring the information, changing the mindset, and then two, putting that information into action, taking massive action, right? A lot of times we look at things like, I've been through this, I don't want to take this L. You know what I'm saying? But in order to learn, in order to go to the next level, you got to be willing to walk with the L. Right? And the L is not necessarily a loss, it's a lesson. Right? The L is not a loss, it's a lesson. The lesson is what help you acquire the knowledge to go to the next level. No successful entrepreneur, no person who has built wealth hasn't taken some L's. The thing is, with them taking the L, they learn from it, apply the lesson, and move forward. The reason why most of us can't move forward is because we're afraid of taking the L, right? We're afraid of what can happen if things go wrong, right? Now, when we worry about what go wrong, at this point now, we can't focus on what do we do when things go right. Ooh. We focus so much on what can go wrong, we putting so much energy into what can go wrong to where we not focusing on how do we capitalize off this situation when things go right. Right? We looking at the cup half empty instead of half full. So in order to build the asset, in order to be the asset, right? I got the shade. Oh, hold up. The shade's right here, fam. You already know, you heard me? Nah, we ain't doing that right now. So we got to ask ourselves that question, man. You know what I'm saying? Am I going to be the asset or am I going to be the liability? And if you're going to be the asset to your family name, then you have to take the action. You have to start putting yourself in a situation where you learn how to accumulate tangible assets. which is why we talk about investing in the stock markets, right? Which is why acquiring the knowledge on how to run a business, right? These are the things that we need, right? These are the things we need. These are the things we got to do to become an asset to our family name. We have to understand business. We have to understand taxes. We got to understand investing. We got to understand, leveraging. These are the things we need to learn how to put into play. Because what keeps us from transitioning to the next level is lack of knowledge. It's lack of knowledge. That's what keeps us from going to the next level, right? So how many people on here, and I say this all the time, is we love to be entertained and not educated. We love to be entertained and not educated. This is something that's killing us. This is what's keeping us from being the asset and perpetuating the state of us being a liability. How many of us around people who can help us have the conversation? How many of you right now, right, check this out. How many people right now can call somebody and talk about putting a business plan together? How many people on here right now can call somebody and talk about investing, a couple $1,000s in the stock market? How many people right now can call somebody and say, yo, I saw a piece of property, let's put our money together, let's do that? Feel me? If we don't have people who can make these decisions and who can do that, then what happens is we are stagnating ourselves, we are keeping ourselves from being the assets. You feel me? Because conversation and environment changes everything around us. Conversation and environment changes everything around us. What happens is, and I was talking to my partners today, and I told them this, man. I said, listen, you got to start having different conversations with different people. Because if you're having the same conversations with the same people, then therefore, this is why your circumstances won't change. You feel me? And so for the people who said that they do have those people, I want you to ask yourself this. So it's different levels to it. So now that you have those people around you, how many times have you put those things into fruition? See, at this point, you're saying, okay, I have those people I can call. So now let me ask you this. How many deals have you made? How many investments have you made together? See, it's the difference between having the people and now using those people. You feel me? So if you don't have no people that can do that, then now what you need to do is get yourself in another circle and get around people who can do that. If you have people who can do that and y'all haven't done that, then now the next level is execution. You feel me? You feel me? Saret, I see you, Queen. So it's all about that. So it's multi-layered. So we ask ourselves again, am I the asset or the liability to my family name? Another thing I want to talk about, man, is why it's so important for us to learn how to invest. And we got to start taking our money, and we got to start taking our ideas, and we got to start taking our wealth in our own hands. Right? We got to start taking our wealth in our own hands. We got to start holding ourselves accountable. We got to start being more aggressive. We got to start playing offense with life instead of playing defense. I want everybody on here, man, to send this live out to like 10 people, man, and kind of say done, man. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get busy. Like, I want to talk tonight. I feel like trapping. That's why I said it. Is we trapping or is we trapping? Yeah, they do me that favor, man. Let's take this live out. Let's send it out to 10 people. Comment done, man. I'm going to be here. We got some game we're going to talk about tonight. Because we're going to get all into investing. We're going to get into some stock. We're going to get into your circle of confidence. We're going to get into all that. Right? So here's what happens. Like, this is how the world put us in a situation, right? What happens is this. So because we don't know how to invest, because we haven't adapted, right? Oh, if you allow them to feed you, you give them permission to starve you. Y'all already know my go-to line. Y'all know the slogan, right? So check this out. How many of you on here heard of the Freedmen's Bank? How many people on here ever heard of the Freedmen's Bank? Right? If you haven't heard about that, I'm gonna give you a brief rundown on that. Right? And this is one of the greatest robberies that ever happened in American history. Right? It's one of the greatest robberies that ever happened in American history, and it crippled black wealth in America. Right? Right? So let me tell you about the Freedmen's Bank. The Freedmen's Bank. So the Freedmen's Bank was a bank that was supposedly around to help runaway slaves and black soldiers who fought in the war. Freedmen's Bank. Right? So what happened was soldiers was dying, and things were happening where they was getting paid. Like soldiers was getting like these big bonuses, and they were getting taken advantage of with their money. You know what I'm saying? So this bank came about, and the bank was supposed to be a catalyst for where black men and soldiers and women as well could put their money in this bank. Right? Now the thing about this was, right, it was ran, owned, and operated by wealthy white people. Right? Bankers, politicians, things like that, right? So now what happens is these affluent black people started putting their money in this bank, right? And so during its time span, it was one of the first multi-stated banks in the world, right? They had 32 branches in 17 states, right? Now what happened was he took Abraham Lincoln, said he wanted the bank to be, by him, like, cause he endorsed it, right? So he wound up getting killed, like assassinated right after that. And this was a situation where he was like, okay, they was like, okay, instead of giving y'all the 40 acres and a mule, we're going to give you all your own bank, right? We're going to give you your own bank. So now instead of us giving you something, right, you can now take the money that you work for and save and buy your own land. Now, one thing we know about our people is we know how to get it out the mud, right? So you got to think it's like 1874. So service-based businesses have always been our thing, right? Service-based businesses have always been our thing, whether it was barbershops, grocery stores, healthcare, that was the thing. Farming, everything. So what happened was these affluent black families built wealth through that. So now they taking their money and they putting it in this Freedmen's Bank, right? And when they putting it in the Freedmen's Bank, what they doing now is they be building these affluent black neighborhoods. So what people just know about Black Wall Street, this was like multi-layered, different places, right? So now what happens is this. This is what happened. I want to say the guy's name was Henry Clay. I think his name was Henry Clay. So at the peak, at the apex of this bank, they had 70,000 depositors. So you talking about 70,000 black people putting their money in this bank. 70,000 black people putting their money in this bank. At the time, they had $57 million in 1874 going through this bank. $57 million going through this bank. $57 million then is now equivalent to about $1.3 billion now. Let that sink in for a minute. We've been know how to get to the bag. You feel me? We've been know how to get that bag, right? But this what happened. Because, and this is a few things I want to tell y'all about. This is a few things that I want to tell y'all about. Right? Okay, Henry Cook. Cool. I thought it was Henry Clay. I think it's Henry Cook. I know it's Henry something. Got a lot up in here, right? So this is what happens. Again, and this is why I'm telling us about we got to become conscious of our money, and we got to become conscious of how to invest. Right? Because we know how to work for the money. We know how to go get it. I'm going to be real. We know how to go get it. I don't think that's ever been a problem. Right? Us go and get the money. That ain't never been a problem. So you have wealthy white men in America running the bank, owning the bank, and then what happened was, one day he comes to the bank and they realize, yo, we got $57 million in here. $57 million of black dollars in here. This ain't even money I work for. This $57 million of hard-earned black dollars. They don't know what to do with this money.